José Manuel, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much, Mariana, for the organization and to be ready to do that, because for us it's quite important, let's say, presentation of the institute in order to open the institute for the people who want to gain for do the PhD. So as Mariana has introduced, we will have two alumni, one Juan Carlos and the other one Francisca, from giving us some perspective from the industry and from academia, and at the end, Javier Llorca, our scientific director, will introduce some topics that could be open for the PhD in the future in the institute. So first, I want to say a few words regarding what means to do a PhD. So and why I always want to start talking about why we don't do a PhD. What are the reasons that we don't have to take into account? The negative things. So we don't have to do a PhD if we are a person with a good academic records. So that does mean that we need to do a PhD. So a PhD, scientists, we are normal people without normal academic records and so. So if you have a good academic record, of course, you are invited to do a PhD, but this must not be the reason to do a PhD. The second is just for prestige. Of course, having a PhD gives you a prestige, but it must be not the reason to be to follow this career. The third thing is just to follow the reasons of your parents or your friends, to follow someone who push you to do that. You have to do it if you want to do it, not for the reasons of other people. Okay. Sometimes people do the PhD because it's the unique possibility of working after the degree. So they choose the possibility to do the PhD as a work, not as a career. And this is not the reason also. And why it deserves to do a doctorate, a PhD development. First, we contribute to improve the knowledge doing a PhD. You have to satisfy your passion to research. So doing a PhD, you are really improving the knowledge of the world. So this is a real noble goal. The second thing, you will be a super expert in one specific field. After 4 years, 3.5 years working in one specific topic, after this time, you will be maybe the person in the world with most experience in that specific topic. You will be a super expert in one specific field. So the third one, you will increase your expectation for better work, to open new horizons, and so in your professional career. Doing the PhD, you will open many possibilities. The fourth one, you will have an extremely high potential to prepare a good networking, international, especially international networking. Usually, in most of the places, you do a PhD in contact with international teams of international working groups, and it will provide to you a good networking starting point in your career. Of course, in the PhD today, we try to push our students to do secondments in other places, and it will allow you in conference or in secondments to know new cities, new worlds, to travel. I think this is a positive thing of doing the PhD. Of course, doing the PhD will open you the possibility to work in academia. Today, it's not possible to develop a career in academia without a PhD. And of course, in the industry, you can reach the top level in the companies if you have a PhD degree. And you can develop a lot of skills that are now required by the industry. You can work in teams. You can improve your capability to give a speech to a public in a public situation. You can order and you express properly your ideas, to organize your work, to manage your work. You have to solve problems. I think during the PhD, at the end, you are capable to solve any problem that you have in front of you. So at the end of the PhD, you will have a lot of benefits. Of course, skills to research, to how to research, how to develop research. You can get the capability to analyze and to solve problems. You will have a really innovative mind because you will train the innovative working methods to develop things. You will be a very competitive person because the PhD is a competitive work. You will develop a lot of capabilities to team working, leadership, of course, good experience for the networking because most of the times PhD is a teamwork. It's not the work of one unique person. Critic thinkings. You will learn how to criticize words and how to criticize ideas, and of course to talk properly in public and in English because most of the people working. Of course, in India you have to work in English, but if you are in the international arena, you have to develop your skills to at least speak a good English to communicate your work and your experience. That's the one. Just let me just to finish with this a couple of things for finishing. This is a interesting communicator and a hopter. You can follow her in LinkedIn or in Twitter, and he has published recently these two pictures. On the left, you have what we think the outcome of PhD is if you don't know properly what is a PhD. And people think that it's only to publish things or to develop some kind of science. But the real outcome in a PhD is writing, presenting, collaboration, data analysis, research skills, critical thinking, all the things that I have mentioned, but many others. And what is the value of a PhD? Many people think that become a PhD is just to have an expertise in one specific matter. But the real thing, what we actually become, you will be an independent thinker, independent doer, expert learner. You will have a good problem solvers, a good communicator, and so and so and so. There are many positive things that you will get with a PhD. So why in the materials? Because I think we have an international reputation that could be also extended to all the people who really pass by our institute. We have a good lab possibilities to develop the work. We have researchers of top level in the world as principal investigators that will help and will exchange a lot of ideas between different groups. In India, we develop a highly collaborative working methods in the developments of the things. Everybody collaborates with everybody. I think we have a healthy ambient in the industry, in the institute. This is quite important. Later, I will mention more about this. Of course, international environment. And this is what I want to finish. You have to choose a place to do the PhD if you don't do it in India that can assure for you a health research, let's say, ambient in the institute or in the working group. And also, it's quite important to choose properly the supervisor. The supervisor and the PhD has a very strong relation for many years. And if you don't choose properly your supervisor, it could be a nightmare for you and for your supervisors. So here you have a couple of articles in which you can read something, bet something more regarding these topics. So as this presentation will be a record, you can try to recover these links. So this is just one numbers. The number of people that do the PhD in India, about 80 something are men and about 60 are women. And the number of people that reach unemployment after the PhD in the academia and in the industry. All the alumni from India, more or less 66% of people got unemployment in the industry and 79% in the academia. And if you prepare this map regarding the most frequently words linked to the alumni of India materials, you see there are places as research centers, universities, but also international universities, also international companies, small companies, very reputed places in the world. So all of our alumni has reached a good employee, in my opinion, and they have reached very nice places to work. And what I wish you is that a good job, a good hour. It's not a day, but it's a good hour with us. And if you have any question, of course, you can write us, and you can give us feedback, and you can give us those questions by email or by any other way. So thank you very much, and I leave the screen maybe to
Thank
Juan
you.
Carlos.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jose Manuel. Well, the next I give the floor to Dr. Juan Carlos Fernández, an IMDEA Materials alumnus, who is currently research and development engineering at ArcelorMittal. Welcome, Juan Carlos.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's really a pleasure to be here and to give this speech about the hope to be new PhD students in the materials. The thing is, like, my name is Juan Carlos Fernández. I was an alumni in India. I think that it was like I started my PhD in 2015, but I was involved from pretty early in India materials. Um, One of the things about this topic, or how I was thinking about like giving this speech, is like, if I go back to the past, if I could say to myself from 2015 how doing a PhD was, what would I say to him, to that young student that was doing his first work experience after a degree? And I was thinking like, okay, Juan, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a challenge, but it's really worth it. And it's really worth it because when you have lived through all this stuff, I mean, all what Jose Manuel has said about the high quality research, about being a super expert on a very specific thing, and so on, when you live, let's say that you leave that topic and you go to the world and you get new companies. So I've been in the University of Liverpool. I'm currently an R&D engineer in the, I think that last year we were the first still making company in terms of selling at least. So I have changed my topics. And at the very end of the day, what doing a PhD has offered me in terms of skill is way more powerful than that. And due to we only have 15 minutes, and there are like many multitasking things that you do during a PhD, I would like to emphasize about three different things. It's about being humble, being methodic, and the importance of the team. These are the three main things that I would like to emphasize about doing a PhD. It makes you humble because science makes you humble. It doesn't matter whether you have a huge ego, small ego, whichever. You have to go to the specifics. It doesn't matter how many years you have spent developing science or doing science. This is about trial and this is about error. And you might have spent a lot of time trying to push for an idea, but whether there is something that does not work, you have to go back and rethink again. And this in industry is really important. It's about like not pushing your ego towards limits you you don't want them, you don't want to go to. So you have to rethink, you have to go back and forth, you have to be resilient in that regard. And that comes from humbleness. It's like, okay, I'm trying to develop this trial, this does not work, so then I have to rethink again, and I have to approach this thing from a very different perspective. And this is something that is very valued here in industry, in which you have to deal with many different inputs just to get an output, and you have to be reactive and proactive at the same time. So that's one of the things that I think, in my opinion, is one of the key elements that no many people usually say about doing a PhD, and in my opinion, it's a kind of soft skill that comes to you when you have finished a PhD. It's not something that you develop afterwards. It's something that you develop through the PhD. And also that brings me to my second point, which is the methodic thing. At the very end of the day, you are a problem solver. You're trying to solve a problem, but you have to do it in a very methodic way. As I've said, it's all come to the basics. It's about trial and error. So you have to do a lot of research. You have to think very carefully what you have to do. You have to approach this stuff, and you have a certain amount of limit to do that. And that finally is associated with having a method and managing times and managing money and managing resources and managing I mean, personal feelings too. And that's something that it all comes to the fact of being resilient. It all comes to the fact about being a good professional in terms of living, which is basically what I think PhD is also about. It's about living. You are living your project. Nobody knows more than you about your project and yourself. So you have to live it, and you have to be autonomy in that regard. But for that, you have to be methodic. And you can see the differences sometimes in industry about some people that have developed it at the that obviously like we all are good professionals and so, but you can see whether the maximizing of resources that from somebody that has done a PhD, and you can tell apart from some others that have not done that PhD. And it's not nothing like bad for those people. It's just simply you're trying to maximize what you have in order to get more. And that's something that comes during this process. It might be something that you don't realize at that point. It might be something that when you are developing that PhD, you are simply struggling with. But when you are finished your PhD, when you are at your third year, at your fourth year, it doesn't matter what it comes to you. You know how to solve that problem. You know how to deal with that specific topic, and that's something that you can say very specifically that it comes from people that have done a PhD. And the third thing that I would like to say is like the importance of the team, your results, your mental health, everything is better when you have a good team. And what Jose Manuel Torralba was saying about the environment, about the healthy environment in the materials, I can say that. I can say that. We were a huge team. We had our specific teams, our specific departments, but it doesn't matter. Like we had a very good and friendship relationship. And that's something really, really important when you are doing a PhD. Because as I said, I'm gonna lie to you, there are some tough times. Sometimes you are pushed towards your limits, but you have a lot of people that might help you to go through all this process, that are living exactly the same things as you, that might help you. And at the end of the day, those people are going to end their PhD and they are going to go to the industry or the academia. And finally, you're going to end up with a huge network of collaborative people that might help you also in the future. And going to the results part, that's something very, very important too, because at the very end of the day, when I was in my team and we had a very good relationship, the way in which you feed from others, the way in which you are finally resourcing from others makes you grow in terms of results and in terms of personal skills. And you are as good as your team is sometimes. So at the same point, it might be a little bit contradictory what I'm saying, because it helps you, it helps to make you more autonomous in some ways, and you have to be helped by team, but they are not contradictory at all. They are a kind of holistic way in which you have to approach a PhD, that makes you realize that there are some parts in which you have to deal with yourself. There are some parts in which you have to stop, you have to ask for help, and you have to go through all this time, through all these things. So these are basically the three things that I would like to emphasize. And also, like the last thing is like, and I think it's the last but not the least, it's the curiosity. So what Jose Manuel has said about like why is the reason you don't have to do a PhD? It's not about like being a very like a, a nerd. It's not about like knowing a lot of things. It's not about prestige. It's not about all this kind of stuff. It's about being driven by curiosity. So if you're a curious person, if you are that people that is always asking about like many questions racing from one single other, that's your career, because it makes you like so full in this regard. The fact that you are creating knowledge, the fact that you're opening a new line of research, that maybe there are a couple of people that might be doing, but that is so new that you mainly know about it. That's so full, and that makes you feel like really good in your inner self. So that's basically what I would like to emphasize here, and that's basically like my advices for myself from like now 8 years ago. It's about you are gonna end up being more humble. You are gonna end up being more methodic. You are gonna end up like knowing about the importance of the team. And finally, you are a curious person. So go for it, because this is basically what this is about. This is what research is about. And finally, I think that now in the industry, this is about sometimes solving problems. And this is what a PhD is also about. This what we have said about the soft skills, about the technical skills, about all these kind of things that we see in a LinkedIn post about data analysts, about like all this kind of stuff, all these kind of resources, all those ticks are about like solving one problem, and you have to deal with all those skills all at the same time. So when you finish that, it's not about posting something that looks good on LinkedIn. You are not lying. You have done those things. You are a problem solver. You have like really good technical skills, and you are also have really really good soft skills. And finally, I said finally 3 times, isn't it? Well, I'm gonna say finally for the fourth time. And I would like to think on science, on doing a PhD as a kind of a tree, the tree of science. So what you are doing is like there is a branch that is coming out from the tree, and you are developing something. And when you're finishing that PhD, from that branch comes out like 3 others, and this is more work for somebody else. And maybe for you too, if you follow in academia, or maybe you can collaborate to strengthen that branch. So this is basically what I'm trying to summarize. It's about being autonomous because you are helping to grow that branch. But at the very same time, you need some people to follow up from the point you have left. And these are basically my points. And this is basically what I would have liked somebody to tell me when I was starting my PhD. So these are my skills, and this is why I think that's a good idea for you to enroll on a PhD in IMDEA materials. So go ahead.
Next, I give the word to Dr. Francisca Martínez Hergueta, an IMDEA materials alumna, currently a reader in Impulsive Dynamic at the School of Engineering in the University of Edinburgh. Welcome, Francisca.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Mariana, and welcome everyone to this Kids in the Open Day. I hope you're having a nice time. Hopefully, this will not take much longer. This presentation is just about my own experience at India and how I have used all of that in my career as an academic. So, first of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Francisca. I'm from Spain. I'm from a very tiny town. It's called Albacete, in the middle of nowhere. It's only known for the regional party that we've got every year. On the year 2008, I moved to Madrid to work on my master's degree in industrial engineering. I did before a bachelor's in mechanical engineering. And after working in several research institutes, I started my PhD studies at the IMDEA Materials Institute with a really, really excellent team of researchers. I started my PhD just because I love research. I was involved in several projects and I wanted to explore a little bit more as a professional researcher what does how it will feel. I finished my studies in 2016 and afterwards I moved to work as a postdoctoral research associate to the University of Oxford, where I worked there as postdoc in the Impact Laboratory for 2 years more. And on the year 2018, I moved to the University of Edinburgh, where I've been working at different stages of my academic career. So this is me. And now what I'm going to focus a little bit better is on my own experience as a PhD student here. So first of all, I would like to introduce a little bit of the research experience that I gained, which was in structural composites, and that could be divided into applied and fundamental research. My first experience was in applied research, where I was hired to work on several R&D projects as a consultant for Airbus, where we were developing composite shields for uncontained engine rotor failure. In these projects, we were doing a screening of different materials and how they might behave under ballistic impact in case we got fragments from the turbines going into the fuselages. And we were trying to design protections that will prevent any fragments from inducing a catastrophic failure of the airplane. It was very exciting. It was a marvelous project. What I did with this project was to take a little bit more into the deeper side to a slightly difficult problem that was a material called the non-woven fabrics, and I made out of that my own thesis on a little bit more of a fundamental research aspects, and I studied it from a numerical and an experimental point of view. It gave me lots of outputs that I have listed here, but as José Manuel has been just saying, this is not the main contribution. This is not the main output of my PhD. It's obviously important. It gives you a view of what you can do at an institution as IMDEA Materials. But aside of this, I gained the most important bit of all, which is my research vision. With all the research and all the exposure that I had during my PhD, I've been able to create my research vision, which is the key that I'm using through my academic career in focus on multi-skill development and certification of composite structures. So we use experiments and simulation all together to work through different technology readiness levels, and we work on research problems where we characterize materials and we try to code also their behavior numerically. We also work on verification. We've got different facilities right now at my own institutions to test large-scale composites, and we have also supported deployment of these structures through certification. So eventually all this information is presented together in the certification stages to allow for the deployment of these massive structures. So this shows you the relevance, not just of the research and the papers itself, but on the importance of creating your own research ideas that will allow you to create your own research group. Aside from this, way more things that I gained during my PhD at IMDEA. The first one is the industrial experience. So one thing that I appreciate a lot during my time at IMDEA is that it was not my principal investigator going to Airbus to present my results. I was always invited into the meetings, into the technical meetings. I was there taken with the rest of the team, and I was presenting my own slides to all the team, and I was also invited to participate in the technical discussions. So being a young person, able to share my results with a team of experts and discussing with them gave me a lot of exposure to industry that I'm using right now a lot in my knowledge exchange activities, which is quite critical for me. So that's something that IMDEA can really provide to their PhD students. Another thing that I also appreciate during my PhD time is that I also gain experience as tutor and demonstrator, so teaching experience that if you want to become an academic, you will need. At that time, we were teaching at the Polytechnic University of Madrid on a master's on composite structures. And for example, I was engaged in tutors and demonstrators in one of the finite element courses, teaching abacus to other students. So that's part of my CV, and that's also important for my academic career. Another thing that is very, very important, and this links to what Juan Carlos has been saying, is about the team. And IMDEA has one of the strongest technical services that I have ever met, which is really, really important, because if you're going to work on experimental features on your PhD, you will need access to equipment, you will need access to a workshop. And one of the advantages of IMDEA is that it's a rather smaller institute, about 100, 150 people, that will allow you to know everyone. So technical services is not an isolated team. You will be having lunch with them and really knowing them. And that will allow you to engage very well during your studies. And it will be key for you. You will have plenty of support when using any equipment and attending any lab. You will not depend on the random PhD or the random postdoc that has used equipment before and would like to dedicate 1 hour to you. You will have, by default, a team of experts in equipment that will teach you how to use it and will help you to analyze the results. And also the workshop will be available for you as well. And you will get to know the technicians. That, I think, was one of the most relevant things during my PhD here. And also, one of the things that we appreciate from a PhD is traveling, of course. That's part of the experience. And IMDEA provided me a secondment at the University of Oxford. That was quite important for me, because afterwards I conducted my postdoctoral time at the same lab. So obviously the work that I did during my secondment was very critical afterwards for me to move to the same team. That was not the only time I traveled. I attended a lot in person, a lot of international conferences, and IMDEA provided most of the funding to attend all of those. The rest were awarded, let's say. So that includes Montreal in Canada, Atlanta in the United States, other international conferences happening locally like Sevilla. But also I attended advanced engineering courses, for example, in Italy, Udine. So this is very unique. In some other institutions, students might just attend one single international conference. These are lots of conferences. There are more that I attended, but that's not the main thing of the talk. And my last point of what is the rest of my experiences is something that Juan Carlos has already said, which is really great team and really great friends. So as I said before, we were around 100 people. We get to know all of us. We were really good friends. We've got an amazing environment. This was really promoted by a very healthy practice within the institute, within the own principal investigators that travel through the PhD students. And that's one of the main reasons why we are at the stage we are now. So now talking a little bit about what has been the impact of my PhD in my academic career, I would like to say that the University of Edinburgh, an institution I work right now, is one of the top universities in the world. There are lots of engineers from other centuries that are very famous, like William Rankine, or physicists, like the father of electromagnetism, Maxwell. We also have lots of current successful researchers, not in engineering though, but this includes, for example, the creators of the leadership, that was engineer at the University of Edinburgh, or Nobel Prizes such as Peter Higgs for the Higgs boson, or the latest Nobel Prize in Artificial Intelligence, Geoffrey Hinton. He conducted his PhD at the University of Edinburgh. Message with this slide is a PhD in India puts in a position where you can apply to the top UK institutions in the future. I'm using also my skills through not just research, but also different tasks. For example, at the School of Engineering, I'm teaching a 5th-year course, Dynamics 5, where I'm using part of the job that I conducted for Airbus and for my PhD, and I'm teaching it to my students. So it's very advanced material. It's a course for MSCs, for masters. and I'm able to teach them very innovative materials through the experience, the industrial experience and the research experience that I've got through my career, including my PhD. And I'm also using this on my admin load. So I'm one of the advisors of the rocket team, and we manufacture all the rockets at the facilities of the University of Edinburgh in carbon fiber. And I'm using my knowledge in manufacturing carbon fiber materials to help the students. So I'm not just using my experience towards my research, but also towards my teaching and admin as an academic. And of course, just to mention it, research, obviously. All what I learned during my PhD is part of my research portfolio in lightweight composites and structures, transitioning towards a low carbon economy and supporting different industries by introducing progressively more and more lightweight composites and structures to increase the power efficiency and decrease the carbon emissions of those and different technologies. And I didn't want to finish this presentation without acknowledging what makes me feel prouder of being an academic, which is basically my students. So these are mostly my postgraduate students, but working as an academic has been fantastic for me. If you love young people, you will love to be an academic. Working in a good institution, a top institution, will give you top students, which are just a pleasure to guide and mentor. So if you like young people, I really encourage you to consider this as a future path for your career. And that was my presentation. Just on time, there are 3 minutes left. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Well, and finally, I give the floor to Professor Javier Llorca, former director of the Institute, currently scientific director of IMDEA Materials, recipient of the National Leonardo Torres Quevedo Award in Engineering, professor at the UPM, and much more. I can stay, as I said before, the whole morning talking about his CV. Welcome, Javier.
Thank you very much, Mariana, for your kind introduction. So this is the last part of this Open PhD Day. And what I am supposed to do is to give you a brief overview of a few open positions for PhD that are currently available at the IMDEA Materials Institute. So these positions are open by different research groups. So the point is, I'm going to share my screens. So basically, if you go, you see the screen on top, basically you will be able to show. You will see that basically on the top right part of your screen, you can see this thesis topic 1, 2, or 3. So if you are interested 3 or 4 in any one of these particular research topics, then later on you can write an email to Mariana and ask her that you are interested in basically topic 1, 2, 3, or 4, and then she will put you in contact with the principal investigator, or sometimes the name of the principal investigator appears on the screen. So then it will be easy. You just can send him an email and I'm fine. So just going through the thesis topic, the first thesis topic, and actually it's also strongly linked to the second one, is on catalysis and is focused on single atom catalyst for the green hydrogen production. As you know, one of the main limitations for the use of renewable energies is that renewable energies, both wind energy and solar energy, are not continuous. So in order to take advantage of the amount of energy that can be produced, energy has to be stored. And everybody's looking for ways of storing energy. One of them that basically seems to be the most suitable one for the future is storing energy as chemical energy in hydrogen. So storing energy as hydrogen requires first to do catalysis of, splitting of water through catalysis in order to produce green hydrogen from renewable energies. And the main problem with the hydrogen production from basically by water splitting is that the performance of this process is very low. The reaction is sluggish, and you have to use catalyst. The best catalysts for this are platinum and basically platinum-based metals, similar metals, that they are very expensive. So this is one of the topics that we are trying to handle in this first PhD thesis, and the project focus on the design and development of single atom and cluster catalysts to enhance the efficiency of water electrolysis for green hydrogen production. So the idea is that catalysis increases with the number of active sites, and the optimum number of active sites that can be achieved is if catalysis is carried out by a single atom that is embedded within a surface. And of course, we are trying to embed these single atoms and to use single atoms that are non-noble metals, so nickel or nickel oxide, something like that. Basically, this thesis topic 1 basically will be conducted within the Catalysis and Energy Materials group of Professor Harun Tuis, and it will be carried out in collaboration with me, as you will see. So basically, we are looking for somebody with expertise, a bachelor and master in chemical or chemistry or chemical engineering or material science. And what the experience, the skills he or she will acquire will be, on the one hand, hands-on experience with nano and atomic scale material synthesis to develop these single atom catalysts, and also using advanced characterization techniques like X-ray absorption spectroscopy and electron microscopy to characterize the position and the situation of these single atom catalysts. Then he or she will carry out a lot of electrochemical experiments, and in particularly, he or she will learn a lot of inoperando spectroscopic investigations to study the catalytic reaction. And of course, as everyone else in IMDEA, you will get a number of technical, analytical, and particularly soft skills like data analysis, scientific writing, presentation, managing, and networking. The expected progress beyond the state of the art is a roadmap for the rational design and development of novel single atom compositions for water electrolysis through the engineering of surface structural properties in support materials with both experimental tools and predictions. Basically, it's very likely that the student that enrolls in this PhD will spend at least 3 months at laboratories of the collaborators of Professor Harun Tuis, mainly in Germany or in the US. So very closely related to this thesis topic 1 is thesis topic number 2. The title of the thesis is exactly the same. The objective of the thesis is exactly the same. But what we're going to do is here to focus on the computational design of catalysts. So in this project, there is an experimental part that will be led by Professor Harun Tuis, that basically you have to build or to manufacture these single atom catalyst surfaces, and you have to do all the experiments. But we are not going to do this by a trial and error approach, but we are going to decide about what is the best catalyst and the best single atoms by means of computational simulations. So this another PhD student will work basically on the computational design of the catalyst that later on will be manufactured and tested by the group of Professor Harun Tuis. So in this particular case, the expertise required for the PhD is slightly different, because we need somebody with a bachelor's and a master's degrees in either chemistry, physics, or material science, but particularly the candidate should have expertise and interest in first principle simulations, computational modeling, and artificial intelligence too. And the skills that he or she will acquire during the PhD are skills on advanced atomistic modeling techniques like density functional theory, Nugget elastic band method, Monte Carlo simulations, in combination with artificial intelligence-driven predictions to guide the design of efficient catalysts. And in parallel with that, he or she will acquire a diverse set of technical, analytical, and soft skills similar to the ones before. What the expected progress beyond the state of the art will be the rational design or development of these novel single atom compositions. And what is interesting is that these two PhD students, one of them will work on the experimental part, the other will work on the simulation part, and the different expertise will enrich each other. Basically, it's supposed that he will have, again, as everyone else in India, the PhD student, at least a 3-month international internship abroad. There are different groups. We are collaborating with all this expertise in design of materials by means of atomistic simulation. The third, puts thesis topic 4, but it should put thesis topic 3. This is a mistake here. Has to do with a different area. Basically, it's a PhD project at the interface between nanomaterial synthesis and assembly of different electrodes for energy. This PhD topic is basically funded by a grant of the European Research Councils and is focused in the synthesis of nanowire for energy. So the expertise that is required for the PhD is a master's degree related to inorganic chemistry, nanofabrication, materials science, chemical engineering, or applied physics. So it's a very broad expertise. And the main job of the PhD student will be to the design and use of reactors of gas phase synthesis of nanomaterials with crystal control. So this is a technique that has been developed in India during the last, I would say, 15 years. And basically, you introduce a gas material with a catalyst, and what it comes out from the furnace is a nanowire with different properties. So we have done that to produce carbon nanotube fibers, but now we are moving to more exotic materials like basically silicon for batteries or semiconductors for different applications. On top of the design and fabrication of these materials by gas phase synthesis, CVD process, the PhD student will get expertise on advanced nanomaterials characterization, including spectroscopy, aerosol methods, two-dimensional X-ray diffraction, electron microscopy, and electrochemical measurements. And finally, he or she will also get expertise in preparation of electrodes and testing in model battery cells, because now we are starting to use these materials for anodes for lithium-ion batteries. And the overall aim of the PhD and the expected progress beyond the state of the art is to understand the process of nanowire growth by studying the sequential reactions, alloy formation, crystal nucleation, layer growth of different nanowire chemistries, including silicon, silicon carbide, and several metal oxides. And then basically with this insights, the student will apply methods to control the nanowire structure and basically to also study new chemistries. As I said before, the project is funded by a prestigious grant from the European Research Councils and basically will be funding to attend international conference. Also, collaborations with industries in US, in Europe may be arranged because of the impact from the industrial viewpoint in the batteries field of this investigation. And finally, the last PhD topic that should appear here, as thesis topic number 4, although what is written on the top right is number 1, is number 4, has to do with a completely different topic that are fire-safe materials for advanced applications. And fire, particularly fire in polymers, is one of the causes and origins of the death of many people because polymers are very much flammable. It's important to improve the fire safety of polymers in transportation, electronics, and construction. And the objective of this PhD is on the development of fire-resistant polymer-based materials for advanced applications. But the main application that we have in mind within the group of Professor Deji Juan is the enclosure of lithium-ion batteries. So, people are using more and more these lithium-ion batteries. And when they undergo a sharp cut, they may go in fire. And this is a problem for cars, for houses, for basically electronic devices. So trying to develop systems that are light, but that are fire safe, enclosures that are light and fire safe is a very, very important topic. The expertise that is required for the PhD is a master in chemistry or material science. Basically, the skills that will be acquired during the PhD are related to polymer processing, fire testing, flame retardant synthesis, and overall the design of new polymers reinforced with different types of nanomaterials to improve the fire safety of these materials without decreasing any other properties. The progress beyond the state of the art that is expected from this PhD is the development of a next generation of fire-resistant polymer-based composites that can be easily processed and also can be recycled, that offer an alternative to the current aluminum-based solution for battery enclosures. As you may imagine, using a battery enclosure that is based on aluminum is much heavier than if we are able to make one that is based on a polymer but is fire resistant. Basically, this thesis will be carried out in collaboration with a leading company in the field that is very much interested in the development of commercialization of these devices. So there is a very, very good opportunity that the student that carries out this PhD later on will be hired by the company to continue the development and the scale up. And these are the 4 thesis topics that are currently available. There are many other thesis topics that are more or less. So in any case, if you are really interested in doing a PhD in IMDEA materials, please contact Mariana and basically say what are your skills and your interests, and like Mariana will put you in touch with a PI that may be more suitable for your interests and skills. That's all. Basically, if you
Very
want to
much,
make any
Javier.
questions or any acclaration, I'll be happy to answer.
There's a question from Said. He said, how can I apply for a PhD position in the university? Would it be possible to contact a professor and propose a research topic?
Yeah, this is something that you can do. But in the case of IMDEA, what you have to do is contact the principal investigator in IMDEA. And if the principal investigator in IMDEA accepts you for a PhD student, IMDEA will take care of doing all the contact with the university and help you out to register at the university for the PhD program.
Great. I have another question. How can I access to PhD topics? I will send to all of you afterwards all the topics that Javier has presented right now, okay? So you will have all this information through the email where I send access to get here to the Zoom. Well, so we have reached the end of the event. Thank you, Javier, for the last presentation.
Thank you, Mariana.
Before ending, I want to remind you, as Javier said, do not hesitate to contact me. All of you have my mail because I send the Zoom connection. I put it in the chat too. It's mariana.huerta@imdea.org. Well, I hope this session has been helpful for all of you to see the new opportunities you could have in the near future. And thank you very much for your participation.